Okay, great. So again, my name is Courtney. I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the Pocket Listings plugin today. Pocket listings are going to basically be any listings that are not on the market. That would be recently sold, new construction, pending, some rentals, things of that nature. So I assume that everybody knows how to log into the back end of their site. In the event that you don't, I'll go ahead and show you here. At the very end of your URL in the browser, after .com, you will do /admin. Okay, and it brings you to a WordPress login and asks you for your username and password, which you should have already received. I always click Remember Me, which is why it just logs me right in. All right, so in the back end of your site, what we're going to do is if we're going to manually add a listing in there, for example, if it would be recently sold or pending, you just go to Pocket Listings, All Listings. If you already have some on there, it's going to obviously show you a full list of all of your listings here. Okay. If you want to add a new listing, you just click Add a New Listing here. Okay. So here in the title, you're going to put in the address of the property. Some people like to put the MLS in there as well. It's entirely up to you. In this section here, this is where you're going to put in a description of the property. You know, you could, if you wanted to refer to the description that was listed in the MLS, you know, you could just paste that into here. And then it's pretty self-explanatory. We try to make it as easy as possible for you guys. You just have to complete the fields. So you would put in the street address, MLS number, price, bed, bath, square footage. You can upload photos. So what we would do if you wanted to upload some photos for this listing, we would click on. Okay. If we want to add to the gallery, it'll take us to the media library. So these are all of the images that are in the website already. So if you are adding the photos there or uploading them and they're not already in your site, you can go to Upload Files. You can drag and drop them here, or you could select them from your computer. Okay, and then you would just hit Add to Gallery. And you can add as many photos as you want. Okay, the latitude and longitude will appear. You do want to select Google Map and Bird's Eye View always, because when Google crawls through the site, it really loves itself, and so it wants to see its own services within the website. So people, also the users that are looking at the properties, really like to see them as well. Okay, and so the WordPress SEO by Yoast, this is a really interesting tool. It's really neat. It shows you what it's going to appear as a Google search result. So based on what information you have entered in up here, will show how it will be as a result. Okay, so just in the essence of showing you how to do it, I'm going to add an address here. Office Drive, Spring, Texas. Oops. 77389. Okay, and I'm going to put it in here again. It's going to autofill that for me. Just going to make up a number here. Okay. Oh. Okay. Gallery. Okay, I'm just going to pull these from the media library, so I'm just going to choose some random ones here. These look nice. Add to gallery. Okay, and you can move them around. So depending on how you add them, sometimes whenever I add lots of photos, I like to put them in an order where it just is more fluid. You can reverse order here, and I'm going to update the gallery. It says 0 photos, but they're in there. Once this page is refreshed, or if you come back to it, it'll show you the number of photos that are actually in the gallery for this listing. If I want to set the featured thumbnail image, I would just click on Featured Thumbnail Image. Okay, and let's find a nice front of the house photo. Okay, this one works. Set featured image. Okay, so this is going to be the thumbnail image, so this is what they see first before they start clicking through. Okay, one very important thing to remember is, I'm just going to throw something in here actually. Full corner lot. Great for families. I'm not very good at this. Okay, so for listing types, now it's very, very important to select what type of listing this is. That's what determines where it's going to live on the site. Okay, so what you always want to make sure that you do is have all the different listing types that you're going to be referring to or using. Here we have active, coming soon, new construction, pending, rentals, sold. You can choose whatever you want. If you want to add one, you can just do it right over here. Just as an example, I'm just going to put recently sold, add new listing type, and it adds it up there and it automatically selects it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just leave it just like that. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to publish this. Okay, always remember to publish it. What that basically does is just saves the listing. Anytime you come back to this listing or any of the listings, and you make changes, always make sure to update it. Sometimes, it can be easy to forget, but that is the save button. Okay, so the reason why, as a recently sold listing, I had to manually enter this is because we do not pull sold or pending properties from the MLS. So what you would want to do in the event if the property is in escrow, or if you know that you're closing on it, you want to actually get it from the MLS prior to it being pending or sold. So while it's still active, because we can pull all of the active properties from the MLS. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you exactly how to do that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to, from the back end of the site, we're going to scroll all the way down. If you look towards the bottom here, you'll see responsive IDX. So I'm going to select that, and it's going to bring me to the responsive IDX settings. Okay. So what I want to do is make sure that I have any IDs associated with any of the agents or offices on the website. So I'm going to select this tab for offices and agents. You can select the market. Some people are in multiple markets. Okay, so for example, if I want to add an office, I start typing it in. It's going to auto-populate all the different offices that are there. I would select that, and I would hit Insert, and it lets me know that it's been inserted. Okay, I'm going to close that, and there it is. Okay, this is not their office, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. But it's the exact same process for adding agents. I would just hit Add, start typing in the person's name. Just say Robert. I'm sure there's some Roberts. There we go. And then I would just select whoever I'm referring to. Again, I would hit Insert. And we're going to close that one. All right, so we have Russ and Adam there. So then anytime you make changes, obviously you want to save them. I'm not going to save them because I didn't really make any changes. So then what you want to do to pull the listing, the active listing from the MLS, you're going to go to Property Ads. So we were just at Offices and Agents to make sure that we have the agent IDs and any associated office IDs in there as well. Property Ads. All right. So this is already showing because these agents have already been doing this, pulling listings from the MLS. It's already showing that some of them have been imported. So what I would do is, again, if I was in if I'm in multiple markets, I would select whichever market I'm referring to. You could either put in an MLS ID number if you know it or it could select an agent. If I had an office entered in here, which I don't currently, but if I did have one, it would give me the same exact field, but it would say select agent, or select office, excuse me, to the right of it. So it would have the option to enter in the MLS number, the agent, or the office. Okay, so I'm going to select the agent. We're going to say Adam Warwick, and then hit filter. Okay, so currently they don't have any active listings, but this is exactly what it would look like. It would pull them in just like this. Okay, and then I would just select whichever ones. You know, if you have many featured listings, it'll have the whole list here. And if you don't want to select all of them, obviously, because maybe not all of the active listings are pending or sold, I would just select whichever ones I'm referring to. Okay, so once I've done that, I would click Import Listings. Okay, because what we're doing is we are importing the listings from the MLS onto the website. Okay, so when you do import the listings, it doesn't instantly publish them to the front of your site. Okay, so it would actually just be living where earlier I mentioned all of your listings are, which is going to be under Pocket Listings and All Listings. Okay, so I'm not going to import this because it's already been imported, but that's the exact process that you would use. You would select it, hit import. Sometimes it can take a few minutes with all the photos and all the information and whatnot. So once it's imported, you can go view it. Under, when you hover over Pocket Listings, you get all these options here. We're going to go to All Listings to see a complete list of all the featured listings. Okay, so you'll see here the one that I had just created manually is right here. So if I ever want to edit anything, you see some people will put the MLS ID number in. Excuse me. When it's actually imported from the MLS, it just automatically puts that number there in front. So again, it's entirely up to you. If you want it to be consistent, you can make them all that way or not. So if you wanted to edit that, you would just select the title, and you could go in here and make changes accordingly. So just as an example of what it looks like when it is actually imported from the MLS, this is exactly how the title looks. Okay, and then it imports the description from the MLS as well. You can update it if you want. You could take things out or add things to it. You know, having fresh content versus duplicate content is actually better for your SEO Google ranking as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people like to just keep it the same because it's good information. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a bit here. There's a lot of information in the description box. Okay, and then it auto-fills all of these fields. Okay, so we have the MLS number, we have the price, year build. It automatically imported the latitude and longitude. All the photos were imported. It already selected the Google map and bird's eye view. And so again, this is how it's going to appear as a Google search. So it builds its own page for the actual property. And so if someone was searching this specific address, this is what it would look like. Now, one thing I just want to point out, which I think is pretty interesting, is the snippet preview. This information right here is the very first sentence and a half or so of whatever is in this description box. Okay, so I think it's something like that. Now, if you wanted to override that because it's kind of incomplete, as you can see here, it gives you an idea, but it's sort of incomplete. You can actually override that with the meta description, so you can have it appear however you want it to appear as people are searching. So just as an example, I'm going to show you. Notice how I am typing, and it's appearing there. We're going to help. So then this is what people will see. So that's entirely up to you. Okay, it already set the featured image as well. If you want to change it, you can always say remove featured image and choose a different one. Okay. Now, if you guys recall, when I was initially manually entering in one of the listings, I was saying it's very important to choose the listing type. Okay, so we want to make sure that we choose the right listing. So this is already selected as active because when we pulled it in from the MLS, obviously it's active. So you can click on that to deselect it. Excuse me. Or you can choose a different one. So let's say it's sold. We're going to select recently sold. I duplicated this one just to show you how to enter one in there. So again, you can create whichever ones you want. And I'm going to actually show you here in just a moment why these are so important. Okay? So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm not going to save the changes because we want to leave it just the way it is. Okay, now I do want to go back to the listing that I had just created. One little tip that I want to give you guys, which I find to be extremely, extremely helpful, is I like to have multiple windows open of different areas of the website. So I always have my first window as the front end of the site, so I can easily refer back to it. Okay, so I can go view changes I've made, etc. And then I have multiple windows open of different areas at the back end. So for example, I want to refer back to this, leave this open. Some people use a Mac. Some people use Windows. I'm currently on a Windows. So I'm just going to right-click that tab, and I'm going to duplicate it. There's different ways of doing it on a Mac I'm not as familiar with, but just, you could just open multiple windows. Okay, so this duplicated the exact same thing that's on this page. All right, and so what I actually want to do is I want to go to the listing here. Actually, that's not what I want to do. I want to go to the page where the featured listings are living. Okay, so I'll show you here from the front end. They have it down here in a call to action button, featured listings. So I'm going to click on this. And I want to show you what it looks like. So they have the title of their page here, featured listings. You'll see it's also up here. That's how you can search for it in the back. They should say the same thing. Okay, and so these are their actual active listings. We have pending. And we have recently sold. Okay, so it's really cool that we are able to put all of these on one page. You can do this really, virtually any way you'd like to have it set up. It's entirely preference. They wanted to have all of them on one page to kind of keep it clustered together with their featured listings. You could do individual pages as well. For example, if you had featured listings as an example in the menu structure, and you hover over it, and it gives you the sub-items or drop-downs, excuse me, of, we could do like pending as a drop-down. We could do recently sold. We could do rentals. A lot of people focus on rentals. New construction is another big one. So that just an idea to give you, example of some different ways that people have this set up on their website. So again, they have all of these on one page for featured listings. So now I'm going to flip back to that page so I can show you how it filters the listing types to where they're supposed to be living. So when I go to featured listings, okay, this is the way that they have it set up. They actually put in their responsive IDX little short code, and this pulls all of the active listings associated with an agent ID, or it could be an office ID. And you can actually put multiple agents in there by doing a comma and then whatever the number may be. And it will pull from both agents. So that's pretty cool. Okay, and so that is what's up here with their featured listings. That's these two right here. Okay, now pending, and all they did here was just add it and edit the heading. So it added like this. As an example, I'm going to do new construction. Okay, so it appears just like this. So I'm going to highlight that, and I can change the way it looks by changing the heading type. So it looks like they are heading 1. So I made it nice and big and bold. By hovering over all these little icons on the toolbar, I can see exactly what they do. So I want to center it. So we're going to go here, align center. Bam. There it goes. Now it looks nice. One thing I do want to also point out is I believe the default toolbar, when you first access the back end of your site before you kind of messed around with it and made it to your own settings, is you may only see one row here, but if you go to the very last icon and you hover over it, it says Toolbar Toggle. So if I click on that, it gives me the rest of the options. So you should have 3 rows there. All right, just a little tip. So you're not, concerned that you don't have all of the options. All right, so I added new construction there. And so what I'm going to do is going to show you how to get these little codes here. And again, since we are talking about pocket listings, and you'll see that here, pocket listings, I'm going to hover over this icon here, featured pocket listing. So it's the first one on the third row. I'm going to select that. And it gives me these criteria to filter by. So the category. You'll see all of these here, condo, pending, recently sold, sold. I had selected, I just created the recently sold listing. So by doing that, when I manually entered in the pocket listing over here, I'll show you again, just so I'm going in the right order here and not confusing anyone. Let's say I just now finished entering this information in, and I went over here and I created the listing type, or I selected it, right? That I have to do first before I come over here and create a new listing type, basically, for the page. So since these have already been here, I don't have to do this. I don't have to go here every time. It'll just automatically send that listing type to this area of the page. But just as an example, I want to show you how important it is. So let's select new construction, okay? New construction. I'm going to update this. Alrighty. So now let me go back over here. This is why it's really, really a great idea to have multiple pages open, so you don't have to save and go back and find where you were and then go forward and go back. So back over here to new construction. I'm going to hover over pocket listings. Okay, so new construction here. Again, very important to select the listing type prior to adding the pocket listing shortcode for the first time. Because you may come in here and be looking for the listing type and you won't see it. So that's why it has to be in that certain order. All right, so we're doing new construction. And so how many results do I want to be returned on the page? This is entirely up to you. It just defaults to 10, but you could change it to 12, etc. We'll just say 12 output style. So there are 3 columns. So that would be 1 column, 2 column, 3 column. So it would be 3 columns and 4 rows to be 12. Slider is going to be different. Slider would be, let me scroll down and just kind of show you. So a slider, rather than having this grid here of all of these thumbnail listings, it would have, for example, just this row here, just this row, and then they would be sliding through. So it's just smaller, kind of keeps the page looking, excuse me, clean or neat. It's entirely up to you. It's purely preference. If you want to do it that way, that is what that means. So I'm not going to select that. But pagination, for those of you who don't know what pagination is, it gives you the this function. I don't think we have it on here, which I do want to add. This is pagination, though. I'm sorry. Give me just a second. So, okay, so this is pagination here. So it gives you the option to, go to page 2, 3, 4, next. Okay, so we do want to have that on, because if you have a lot of listings on one page, then you want people to be able to see the rest of them without it crowding your page. All right, so we turn that on, and I'm going to hit insert, and it just puts it right there, which is really, really neat. What you could also do, and this is just an easy way once you kind of get more comfortable with doing this, you could, if you didn't want to go through that process, which isn't that difficult, but you could just copy this, and you could paste it there, and you could just change this listing type. So, for example, new construction, just like that, and it's going to work just as well. Okay, I'm going to put that back. Okay, so let me update this. And since I had selected the listing that I manually entered, I'm going to refresh the front end of the site so it refreshes the changes I just made. I added new construction, and here it is. And here is that listing that I put in. So the reason why it knew to go to this section of the page is because of the listing type. I always like to reiterate the importance of the listing type because it's kind of the key in all of this. Okay, so you could do the same thing for rentals. You know, you could have it say coming soon. I know a lot of people like to do it that way. But basically that is all you have to do to get those listings on your page. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and open up the line for any questions that you guys may have. And I hope that this has been very helpful to everyone. So bear with me just a moment while I end the presentation and open the line up.